Coming to you live from Fayetteville, Arkansas in the beautiful Appleby Business Center studios. It's time for Northwest Arkansas Business Radio with Adam Robison.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for another episode of Northwest Arkansas Business Radio. I'm your host, Adam Robison, and I'm so excited to be with you on this beautiful day. And we have a really cool guest today. If you live in Northwest Arkansas, you may have met this young man. He's helped a lot of people with their websites, with their social media presence, and all of that other good stuff. I want to welcome Jacob Morton to Northwest Arkansas Business Radio. Jacob, welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here. Go ahead and just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you find yourself in Northwest Arkansas today.
Sure. Thank you for having me, first of all. So I grew up here in Northwest Arkansas, went to Rogers High School, and have kind of been around. We lived in Van Buren, when I was a lot younger. Moved up here when I was, in first or second grade. So I've been kind of around NWA for a while. Kind of seen it blown up recently too, so that's been crazy. But I grew up here a lot and saw the local businesses around here just like incredible. Mm-hmm. And even before the area kind of blew up, you saw a lot of really cool places, restaurants, just small businesses are a thing around here, and they're cool. And so the area's blown up a lot more, and I've really enjoyed kind of working with the local businesses and kind of being a part of it, speaking with business owners and kind of getting to know people on a personal level. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's great, man. I love the fact that you're a hometown warrior battling out for small business supremacy. Jacob owns his own business called Blue Anchor Design. And I met Jacob through a friend, actually, who said, hey, you got to meet this guy. He did my website, and he did a great job. And then Jacob and I met on our own without even realizing who the other was, but we do have a mutual friend, and so I'm really excited you're here. So Jacob, when I asked you a few minutes ago what's your specialty, you shot out three areas. You said website design, social media management, and graphic design. What inspired you to focus on those specific areas within the realm of business development?
Yeah, the short answer is these are all things that I did kind of on the side that I had already done for people, and I realized that local businesses kind of need these services, and they all kind of fit in together, right? They're all kind of online, techie type things. As far as my background with these things, whenever I got out of school, I became a software engineer, and I did that for about 5 years, and that's a lot of coding. And I did work with user experience teams for branding and design and everything. And I worked with social media teams for different things. But as a software engineer, you get several years into that, and then you come to kind of a crossroads where you either dive into the coding side of it a lot more, you study frameworks, and you really get techie about it. But that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with people more. I wanted to speak with people and help people, and looking around, like I mentioned before, the local businesses of NWA, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, hey, there's great businesses all around me. Why don't I just take this skill set and try to serve them with that?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, too, when you talk to people, especially small business owners and people that are in the networking field. They know that they need to focus on a website. They know they need social media and a presence on social media, and they would like their posts to look somewhat decent, with some graphic design. But it's interesting to me how many people just kind of throw their hands up and say, oh, that just means I've got to learn something new, and I'm just not into learning something new. How important is it? Let's talk directly to that person who says, I just don't want to deal with that. How important is a well-designed website for businesses today?
That's a great question. So I think one thing that I've learned about business in general is there's a few things that you need to have down as a business owner for people to be successful, right? The first thing is you need to have a great excuse me, a great product. So you have a great product or a great service. That's step one. It's solid. If you own a hotel, your rooms are clean and comfortable and look great, and it's a great hotel to stay at. Another factor for being a successful business owner is how easy is it for people to do business with me? So if I, again, going back to the hotel example, if I have like a little sign out front and I'm, located downtown, it's tough for people to find me. If I walk in and people don't know where the, reception desk is, don't really know where to check in, how likely am I to go back?
Right.
How likely am I to refer my friends to this hotel? It's the same thing if I own a business in Northwest Arkansas. If, my dad was telling me the other day, he was looking around for some plumbing work. He had like a pipe burst. So he said he was getting on the phone and getting on the internet and looking at different plumbers' websites. And one of the things he told me was, there's some plumbers who you go on their site and it's just pictures and it just kind of says, hey, we do plumbing, which you already know.
Right.
I'm on NWA, whatever, plumbers.com. I already know you do plumbing.
Right.
He said there's other websites that, they had a contact form on there that I could fill out and contact someone and get an answer. They had, they had different things that made it easier for me to do business with them. And that is the important, if you're missing that piece, you probably won't be very successful. If it's more difficult for people to do business with you, not even just versus your competition in general, you should have the goal of making it easier to do business with you.
Sure.
And so that applies to the services that I offer business owners here is, if I have a website that makes me look great, clearly communicates what I'm selling to people and makes it easy to do business with me, that you're pretty much set up for success right there.
Absolutely.
That gives you kind of an amazing starting point.
It reminds me of back in the 50s when you began to have companies that were staying open. They started staying open on Sundays, and that people couldn't believe that stores would stay open on Sundays. In fact, one of my favorite scenes from that movie, That Thing You Do, is when the dad from the appliance store says, "I don't think I want to live in a country where you've got to work on a Sunday," right? And now working on Sunday is something we're all used to. In fact, if somewhere is closed on Sunday, it seems to get more recognition than those that are open. And this is kind of like that. It's just a new way of doing business and making yourself available to those people. And so throwing up your hands and saying, well, I just don't want to deal with it, is kind of like the same as saying, well, I don't want to work on Sundays, and pretending that that's not where your customer is. And so really super important. That,
and, I empathize with people who say, hey, I don't want to deal with this. That's great. If you sell chairs, you're probably amazing at building chairs. You have not, sat down and studied, how do I make engaging social media posts?
Oh, that's a good point.
You don't have the time. However many chairs you build and however much time you can spend working on the quality of your chairs, you're going to sell more. So that's what you want to be doing. So I think that's fine. If you say, hey, I don't want to deal with it, that's great. And that's a lot of the value that I can provide to people is I deal with it. I've put in the work and the research, and I can kind of take that off of people's plates.
I love that. That's great. I love the way you turn that around too. So are there key elements that every website should have, or does it really differ depending on what type of business it is? How can we help people if they're sitting there saying, okay, I need a website, and you haven't convinced them yet to call you? What are some guiding tips you can give them as far as what every website should have?
Step one is clearly communicate what you do. Clearly communicate what value does my business provide our clients. And once you've communicated that, whether it be, I've done a website recently for a business that stains decks, for people. That website better have the best looking decks, best looking stained fences, so people know, like, hey, this business gives a really high quality kind of results and gives a high quality service. So step one is clearly communicate what you do and kind of show off a bit. If you have a great service and you're great at what you do, awesome. Let's show that off.
Yeah.
And then the next thing, like I said, is the big element of making it easier for people to do business with you. A lot of step ones for that is a contact form.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to your website, I see that you have a great service. Right there, I can just click and send you an email.
Okay.
I don't have to read the email, copy it, go to my email, the website, and then put that in, start an email. No, there's form fields, and you click a button and it goes to them.
Nice.
So those are a couple of great starting points.
Nice. Now social media itself seems like it just is on the rise. It seems like every day you've got another company, Truth Social, Bumble, Tinder, all of these things that are used for different reasons and whatnot. How does someone like yourself, with all of that rapid growth, how do you coach businesses to effectively utilize social media management to enhance their online presence and to engage with their audiences? How do you coach them and keep them abreast of all of the changes?
That's a great question. I manage social media for different businesses, so I can kind of take that off their plate. But tips for if you're kind of doing it yourself or looking into it, the very first thing I tell people is get started, period.
That's such great advice.
Yeah. And it's good advice for a lot of different things. But if, let's say you're on Facebook and Instagram, these are the very common ones. If you're on Facebook and Instagram, if I take a picture, if I'm working in a coffee shop, I could take a picture of my computer, my coffee, and the amazing looking background of the coffee shop. And I can post that on my story. It doesn't have to be an official post, or it doesn't have to be a big deal. I throw that on my story, say, hey, working here, owner's amazing, awesome coffee. And I just put that up. That goes immediately to my Instagram story and my Facebook story. So now I have two pieces of content for taking a picture and typing a sentence. And what I tell people is, once you do that, just do that once a day. Like, we're all working in coffee shops, or some of us making calls in our car on the way to places. Just take one picture, throw it on your story once each day for a week or 2 weeks. And after you've done that, you have made content for multiple social media platforms every day for weeks. And so the step from that to making, quote, official posts or making normal posts, that step is not nearly as big, as I don't do much of anything social media wise. Going from that to making posts is a bigger step. So step one is just get started.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in there. Once we get started, once a client gets started with you, when you're working with your clients, how do you approach creating a website or really any sort of graphic design that aligns with their brand and their business goals?
Yeah, so the advice that I keep in mind for myself is, hey, I'm making a website for a bookkeeper. It needs to kind of have a feel of organization and clean, just being very organized and kind of clean cut. But what I give other people advice-wise for this is, don't try to be what the other bookkeeping businesses are. Don't try to, because they've already done it and they already do it. And if you look like the fourth bookkeeping website that I've gone to this week, if you look like the same as those other ones, then why would people choose you? So what I tell people is, like, don't just try to be a different website or a different social media account for whatever business you have. Tell me who you are, and tell me, it can be weird, it can be creative, it can be, whatever it is. And people are going to appreciate that and kind of be attracted to that being genuine and organic. That will show in your website and your social media, and it kind of shows your business is your baby, and every decision you make for your business kind of contributes to what it is. So I always tell people, just give me the random ideas and the random vibes that you have, and people will appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just sitting here thinking of all the times, like on Halloween or something like that, where I've tried to dress in an outfit that represented somebody else, or dress like somebody else. It always feels weird. It always feels weird. People always look at you a little strange because you can kind of tell whether you're representing yourself or if you're trying to perform and be like someone else. And so, I love what you're saying. Essentially, you're saying, hey, wear your own clothes, right? You're not going to go out and win this battle wearing somebody else's armor. You need to make sure that your website and your graphic design really reflects who you are. So I would love to hear a story, some sort of success story or example of how your website design, social media management, or even your graphic design service has positively impacted business. You have a success story for us?
Yeah, I'll give a recent example.
Awesome.
So, I do some management for a creator. She streams on Twitch and she makes YouTube videos, and she's kind of an entertainer. She didn't even have social media accounts whenever I started working with her.
Wow.
She kind of is, a bit averse to making videos and posting them on social media and everything. And so whenever we first got started, I said, hey, here's some stories that you can post this week. Here's some posts you can post this week. Here's a couple clips from your stream that you can post. And she reluctantly kind of said, okay, whatever, which is fine. And so I think the second or third story she made, and keep in mind, she just created this Instagram account. The second or third story she made, she got 10 or 11,000 views on this story.
Wow.
And she was extremely excited. This bigger musician shared her story on his, and it was just a whole, she lit up with excitement.
That's so cool.
And 10 or 11,000 people, even if they're not giving her money or buying anything from her, she got that many eyes on her and her business.
Sure.
And 10 or 11,000 people looking at your business is a big deal. And so,
I have no doubt there's listeners with Northwest Arkansas Business Radio right now that would love to have 10 or 11,000 extra sets of eyes, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you've got to convince anybody that's a great big deal. That must have made you feel great in the work that you did as well, right?
It really does. Whenever you are confident in your service and the fact that it will help the people that you're serving, seeing the results is awesome.
Yeah. So you and I both know we've been around town more than once with various networkers and small business owners and whatnot. Everybody wants to label themselves as a social media manager or graphic designer or something because they were able to, spend $12 and buy Canva or something like that. So let's bust some myths. All right. What are some myths out there about graphic design, website design, just any sort of misconceptions that might be out there about putting a website together using social media manager or management service of some kind, and then graphics design? That's a mouthful. Sorry. I was trying to get out the question, and I felt like the question just kept going.
Yeah.
So what do you do, or how do you deal with misconceptions and people who just plain get it wrong?
Yeah. I don't really like being salesy. I don't like, the feeling of trying to kind of force someone to close business with you. So, a great thing that I've heard is whenever you're quote selling or whenever you're talking to someone about your services, you're informing them. You're just explaining, here's the service I offer. Here's kind of what it's done for people. If it's right for you right now, great. Awesome. If it's not, great. I'll be available when it is. But as far as myths, the way to dispel those is to inform. A couple of the common ones. Number one is people think that if I build a new website, the purpose of it will just be to make me look a little better. That's what it'll do. And like I was saying before, your website takes care of that entire building block of making it easier for people to do business with you.
Love that.
And it's a big deal. Another myth is I could just do it myself. I've got a Canva subscription or I've seen Canva for free and I can do it. Whenever I hire people that are good at what they do, whenever they give the product to me or whenever they get back to me with the final product, the finished result, I'm blown away. And whenever you are intentional about hiring someone you trust to do it and you know will do it well, you will be blown away with the result. You could make something that, if I own a business like a restaurant and a shark is my logo, I can make a shark with a circle around it and put, Jacob's Sharkery or whatever. But I think people are blown away whenever they're intentional about having someone to do it right.
Okay, I would agree with that too. So you and I both know it's not just about making a website, right? Now we've got to make this website talk to the internet, and we do that through SEO optimization so that people can find us. What are some approaches you take to SEO optimization so that when someone puts a site out there on the web, someone can find it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say there's two big points that I cover when it comes to SEO, because it's a big deal whenever you search NWA plumbing for your plumbing website to be at the top of the list.
Sure.
The first one that people go to. That's a big deal. So the two kind of points that I cover, number one is how your website is coded, and the kind of bones of your website needs to be done the right way.
Okay.
So someone who comes from a software engineering background, there's ways to code a website where you can get it to look how you want it to look, but it's kind of duct tape and Band-Aids in the background. And Google doesn't like that, it turns out. And so whenever you do things the right way and structure it the right way, Google really loves that. And you're better off long-term in every way for that. The number two thing is the analytics side of it. And so this comes into play with Google search keywords and tags, and how often are people searching this keyword versus the competition on it? There's a whole world of the analytics that I go into and put the time into to make sure that, the tags and the words used on your website and the page names and everything is kind of taken care of and efficient and optimized. And so you are getting your business in front of people the best way that you can.
Okay. And you're going to keep the big G happy, right?
Yeah,
Google.
Big G.
Yeah.
It'll be happy.
Exactly. Want to make sure everybody knows we're talking about Google, right? All right. Let's begin to wind things down here. What advice would you give to businesses that are just starting out, looking to establish their online presence, but they have limited resources? They can't go out and spend $20,000 getting a website set up and all that good stuff. What tips and tricks do you have for someone just getting started, but they're working on a budget?
I talked earlier about just getting started, and those tips apply here really well. The other thing I'll say for this is a big part of the reason people will do business with you is because they trust you and they know you. And it is free, absolutely free, to put yourself and who you are on social media. It's just free. Like if I, whatever business I have, I can take a picture of the front desk lady and, hey, this is whoever, and she does our front desk stuff. She's awesome. People now know your front desk person for free.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can post a story. Hey, like I'm doing some plumbing today. Got this pipe that's like an S-trap and it's really bad, and I'm fixing it. I'm taking care of it for people. People love that kind of organic, genuine content. And so step one is just get started. Step two, you don't have to have any budget for just putting you on social media.
Come on.
And letting people know you in a genuine way.
Yeah, and to me, that blows my mind to hear you say, but it's so true, right? People can recognize a gimmick. Right? They can sniff out something that smells fake. And so when you are putting your bold, authentic, transparent self into your business and people see you, it's kind of refreshing, right? It just, I know when I hear someone talk about their business, I don't know about you, but I can tell when someone's not being themselves, right? Can't you? And so it is just refreshing there to have that. So how do you handle client feedback? right? So you get a client and they're not exactly thrilled about what you did, or maybe they don't understand why you did what you did. How do you handle client feedback and guide those discussions toward your work?
That's a great question. Step one is work with people that you're going to work well with. There's people that I would serve really, really well. There's people with needs and challenges that I might not serve as well. Mm-hmm. I'd love to refer them to people who will. Mm-hmm. Or, it's step one is determining, hey, can I help you effectively? So after that, if they're giving feedback, first of all, I love feedback. I welcome feedback. This is your website. This is your business's, representation on the internet. This is what everyone will see if they search your business. Mm-hmm. So I welcome the feedback. I welcome making changes for people. I think that's absolutely fine. There does get to a point where there might be too much feedback or, too kind of micromanagey of asks. And at that point, the approach that I take is, my thought process is what will be the best for the end result?
There you go.
What will be the best for what we're trying to achieve? Mm-hmm. And that's the angle that I take with people. I don't disagree like, oh, that would look bad, or no, I don't want to do that. I'll have a conversation with people and just say, hey, I think this would be better for what you're trying to achieve, and here's why. Okay. Like, I totally understand your suggestion. I think that would look good, but it might be better if we do this instead. So I try to take a very kind of just what's best for you and what you're trying to achieve approach to it. But in general, yeah, I love making changes. I love helping people get a website that they're very proud of. Mm-hmm. And I love making them feel like I'm not above making changes for them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Jacob, man, we're out of time. Tell me, how would people find out more about Blue Anchor Design? How do they follow you on socials? Go ahead and put that information out there so people who want to know more about what you're doing can find it.
Absolutely. Step one is you can see kind of my design and you can see a finished product of mine just on my website.
Oh, great.
So you can see kind of my work and learn more about me.
So what's that website?
That website is blueanchornwa.com.
Okay.
And then you can find me Facebook and Instagram, Blue Anchor. Yeah, that's the best place.
Okay. So one of the things that we like to do as we close up interviews here on Northwest Arkansas Business Radio is put out a call to action. And that's just a way that our audience can help you build your business or build your social media following. So if we were to put out a call to action for our audience to help you develop and build your business, what could someone do for you today?
Man, I think just get on my website and shoot me. I've got a little contact form on there. Just shoot me like an email saying, hey, here's what I do. Like, here's where I'm at. Here's where our office is. I would just love to hear from people and to meet people. That's an awesome first thing. The other thing, I love helping newer businesses who are just trying to get their foot in the door. They need a website. I love helping those people, existing businesses, any kind of small business who wants a new website or wants, hey, we just need help. Our social media is not growing. Those kind of referrals, or if you know anybody, that's awesome too.
Okay. Well, folks, it has been an incredible conversation with Jacob Morton from Blue Anchor Design. Go ahead, check out his website, follow him on social media, and then just reach out and let him know that you heard him talk right here on Northwest Arkansas Business Radio and that you're supporting him. Sometimes just an attaboy will help a whole lot, and they always seem to come just in time, don't they? Well, for Northwest Arkansas Business Radio, my name is Adam Robison, and we will see you next time.